Running Sentences presents One Dead Man, Part 8. Confusing time. Things only seem to have gotten weirder and weirder for Nate and Charles, both of them doing their best just to survive. But even that seems like a Herculean task. This story is written and narrated by Michael Hunnery. It is a work of fiction, so any names, characters, businesses, events, and situations within the story are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to real people, situations, characters, businesses, events, and or fictional businesses, characters, events, and so on and so forth is purely coincidental. Copyright 2026, Michael Hunnery. All rights reserved. Somehow and somewhere, Charles found himself outside. It was nice to breathe the fresh air again, even if he was still crowded around by people. There were soldiers out and about trying to corral people into lines, but Humbert, this secret agent, pulled him away from all of this mess across the lot towards a parked car not too far away. Where are we going?" Charles asked. "To safety, where else?" You think that these soldiers are merely going to let us drive off into the morning sun, which hasn't quite got anywhere in the sky yet?" "Yes, they will. Now get in." "Why would they do that, and why would I just get into this vehicle?" They'd arrived at a simple, black-looking sedan which had its doors opened as they got close. Charles only got barely a look at it since he heard the noise of the door opening. A big, burly-looking woman grabbed him with rough, heavy-set hands and yanked him, pulling him into the car. The door slammed shut behind him, with Humbert jumping into the front before they sped off. Gino had made sure that they'd gotten up to the third floor, with lots of pushing and shoving to keep people away from them. It only took a few of those shoves to get people to leave them alone, but he still made the motions just to make sure that people got the idea, and as a result they did get quite a few stares for their efforts. The hallway they had arrived in had a similar problem to the last one. Too many people trying to get out of here. Nate kept getting dragged along, and wasn't really paying any attention to any of that. "Over there!" He looked up to see what Gino was referring to, and saw what looked to be police tape on the room door, not hallway. It looked like it was loosely blocking the doorway, which Gino was now charging towards. "Sir, do we really need this one now?" one of the guards asked. "Yes, we do need Nate. He's vital to keeping things going." "How the fuck is that true?" "You don't speak unless spoken to, Nate," Gino ordered. Unable to find the retort he wanted, Nate fell silent as they went to this door. There they stopped while Gino studied it for a moment. "There is only one way in. Get rid of this plastic tape, guards," Gino said. "Well, I'm not doing it." Gino then swirled on this guard after they'd said that, and found himself staring at Nate instead. He smiled, a cruel smile that said he had a cunning plan, but one that really wouldn't be cunning at all. "Agreed, you should not do it, but Mr. Nate here certainly can." "Why would I do that?" "We will let you go if you open the door," Gino said, his grin growing. "You can open it yourself." "Sadly, I cannot. Now open it or we will kill you." To that end, Gino had produced a small, pocket-sized pistol and pointed it towards Nate. He had to grimace at that, knowing a thing or two about guns. It was probably a small caliber, which meant likely more than one shot would have to be taken to do anything to him, if this Gino knew how to use it in the first place. Not worth risking, though, since they were pretty close to one another, making missing that much harder to do. And, well, small caliber could still kill. "I'll open the door, but that's it. If it is locked, though, there's nothing I can do about that." "Well then, get to it, Nate." With a deep breath, Nate walked the last few steps, having been freed from the grasp of the guards, over to the door. He swept his hand over the police tape, which was loosely taped to the wall, clearing it away. Then, with a nervous, shaking hand, pushed on the door handle. It didn't resist, which was a sign that it might be unlocked. The only way to tell, though, was to push on the door. "I'm going to push in this door, okay?" "Why are you telling us, Nate? Just do it." "So that you can be prepared for anything. Who knows what's beyond this door? It might be a trap." "Is it a trap?" Gino then asked. "I don't know. I'm guessing that whoever set all of this up probably has a surprise or two waiting for us, or me, or someone." "Fine, then. I'm ready for this." Pointing and then swinging the gun about in a hurry-up fashion, Nate pushed the door. It didn't budge, and he pulled on it to no movement. Letting go, he turned to Gino. "I guess it's locked." "Try harder." Rolling his eyes, Nate rattled the door a bit more until it suddenly popped inward. The room inside, dark. Nate then stepped back to let Gino get in there, sweeping his arm by to show the way. However, Gino said, "You first. Go in." "Nope, wasn't part of the deal. You can now get in because that's what you wanted." Having said that, Nate took several confident steps backwards to get away. This lasted until his back hit something, which didn't move, but felt rather fleshy. Turning, Nate saw that the bodyguard was standing in his way. "You aren't going anywhere, Mr. Nate." "Noted, Mr. Guard Person." Roughly pushed forward, he was pushed into the cell sort of room. It was dark until Gino, who had reluctantly gone in, found a light switch to turn on the lights. The room became a sight of gore and blood splayed all over the place. Everyone had taken a few steps in, now took a few steps out, looking to one another as they tried not to vomit. "And what the fuck is that?" Gino demanded to know. "A body of some kind." "Whose, though?" Gino asked. Nate looked to Gino like the man was a bit crazy, because, well, he was. How the fuck was he supposed to know through the carnage who that was? "A person? A former person?" Nate replied. "Who were they?" "How would I know that, Gino? I've been locked up in a cell in this place. They haven't let me out since I walked in here." With a doubtful look, Gino glances back into the cell room, his look morphing to disgust, then pointed to one of the guards. "Bring out whatever remains in there." "Why should I do that?" the guard questioned. "I ordered you to, guard." Nate, though, was thinking nothing about this was right. They certainly saw a body in there, a lump of a thing, spewing blood, but there had been police tape over the door. Wouldn't the cops take away the body? Or whoever they had to do that sort of job of taking away a body? "Send in this one," the guard said, pointing towards Nate. "I ain't going further in there if you're talking about me." "Yeah, it's about you and doing what you're told, Mr. Nate," the guard yelled back. There were shouts coming not too far away that drew their attention. "This is the police. If everyone would please calm down and sit down where they are." "Shit," Gino grumbled. In a quick and rather deft move, he grabbed a hold of Nate's arm and then began yanking him away. The crowd had done the exact opposite of what the police had yelled, as chaos broke loose. "Let's get out of here for now. We need to get back to the parking lot. Guards, make a pathway and we will get out of here quickly." The two guards, no longer having to deal with Nate, hurried forward through the crowd of people. The car carrying Charles eventually came to a screeching stop in front of a lighthouse. It was a working lighthouse, not one of those that had been turned into a museum. It did have a small parking lot there, and it looked more like it was a spot for those who wanted to park their car so that they could go hiking in a nearby trail. Charles only realized that when he saw a big sign pointing towards the trail in the morning sun, as he was led by this strange man up to the front door of the building, where then Humbert promptly knocked on it. A little slit in the top of the door opened and a voice came out. "What's the secret password?" "What ho?" Humbert quickly replied. "Nice to see you again, Agent. Welcome. You got the guy?" "One of them. The other one is floating in the breeze currently." As this conversation was going on, the door was opened by a cranky-looking man, though in a fine tailored suit. Charles had to blink several times to make sure the sight made sense in his mind, but it never quite clicked. "Hurry in then, will you?" A quaint, if simple living room greeted Charles as he stepped inside. There was a man whose voice he had heard from before standing by the door, and Humbert gone over to the couch and happily flopped onto it. "Anyone want to tell me what's going on?" "You didn't tell him, Humbert?" "Oh, I told him. He apparently didn't listen. I guess telling people you're a secret agent only slightly works. Maybe in movies or something like that." Humbert replied. "None of this is explaining to me what's going on," Charles pointed out. Fine, Humbert said as he sat up. "There is a situation going on between forces at a higher level of your government and maybe rich people. Someone taking control or wanting to wrestle control so that they can do whatever it is that they want." Charles looked about the room trying to decide if he was really hearing this from this sort of secret agent. It did sound plausible since no one liked the dear leader, but at the same time, who was going to buy this crap? For now, he decided to play along. "So you mean a guy named Gino?" Charles said as an offer of, "See, I understand." "One of the potential many suspects in a never-ending game of whack-a-body double," the voice responded. "I see, and you are?" Charles asked, confused and staring at the grumpy man. "Everyone calls me the Voice. I work as a go-between for various agencies that need to communicate with one another." Okay then, so you're all pretending this is real?" "Why would it be faked, Charles?" "I don't know, Mr. Humbert. Maybe to root out spies and people acting in bad faith?" Realizing something, Charles felt his back stiffen as his mind caught up with something, and he said, "I'm only coming across body doubles of our leader? Is that what you've said?" "Indeed," Humbert added with a smile. "But, they could be other people as well," Charles said. Thinking about this for a second, Charles wondered if he was better off not knowing any of this. It was too late for that question now, and judging by all the government responses to his existence of being around, they would probably not care if he knew or not, and would just make up whatever they wanted to satisfy what they wanted to know. This is silly. Why should I care about any of this? It isn't like anyone is going to come for me," Charles said with a nervous smile. "On the contrary, once they've discovered you've fled, they will most certainly want you back," the voice said. "Why would they want that?" Charles questioned, not really believing any of this anymore. "For what you know," Humbert replied. He looked between the two supposed agents with wild, confused look. They were really mad and thought that this government or whatever conspiracy group behind this really cared about what he knew. "I don't think so, Mr. Humbert. I would say that they want me because of what they think they can pin on me. Whatever I know is a secondary thing, and they can say what I said, whatever they wanted me to say that I said." The tongue twister leaving his mouth, Charles frowned at the thought. If that was really the case, then wouldn't they just take him off the island when they could? But none of this was making any sense. You would think that, but there is a lot at play here." "Yes, I do in fact think about it, Humbert. Now explain further who you two are and what you want with me." "Otherwise you won't cooperate?" "No, I won't, Mr. Voice. I haven't been doing it for quite a while since this whole thing started, and it hasn't gotten me very far, but I'm not giving up yet." Humbert waved him to sit down in a nearby seat, but he remained standing. We work for another government that is worried about the way things are going here in your country. We have heard rumors of plans of power exchanges, and that it is all going down here. It felt like a smart place for us to be. Shouldn't you not want to be here then, in case you get caught, and then your government has to fess up to things? Charles said, trying to point out the obvious. Oh, we were never here. This is our vacation after all. Charles. But, Humbert, now I know about you, and if I get caught again? When you get caught again. He looked to this agent voice who said this, and raised an eyebrow. This was not going the way he thought it was going to go, and now there was a chance of them just turning him over? You're just going to give up on me now that you've gotten me out of there without knowing what I know? Not really, no, but you do have a habit of getting caught, or walking right into the military and saying, "Look at me," Humbert replied. Okay, that last part may be true, but what the fuck is even the plan here? Are you swooping in to save the day, disguising the... What are you doing? Charles demanded to know. We can't do any of that. As Agent Voice says, we can't, because we're from another government, as we said. Well, you and your friend can certainly save it. That is, if you're up to the hard task ahead of you. Charles gave Humbert a dubious look. What do you even expect me to do? Save a leader who no one knows where they are? We know where he is, but again, it can't be us that goes and gets him, the voice replied. Why do I have a feeling that this is going to end badly for me? Charles said, rather annoyed. I think that's because you keep running into trouble and surrendering. Can't blame you on that front, though, as generally the people you run into carry guns, Humbert replied. Charles felt like the only thing he could do was shake his head. It wasn't going to do any good to do that, and these guys probably had guns of their own to force him to do whatever they wanted, which was apparently save the day. That felt very far-fetched, though. Okay, since you have guns, you haven't shown yet. Where exactly am I going, and for what? What do you want me to do exactly? We need you to get aboard a yacht out in the bay. Frowning at that, Charles wasn't sure if Humbert was talking about the one he'd seen several days ago or not, or he'd lost track of time in days, but he was pretty sure there was only one yacht out in the bay area, and so he guessed that it was going to be the one he was going towards. As the boat tender bobbed to a stop next to the yacht, Nate found himself roughly pushed towards getting onto the big boat. Their escape from the facility had been surprisingly easy and unnoticed, which bothered him, but with guns pointed at him and lots of other people with bigger muscles, he just got along with the whole thing. What are we doing here? We are seeking safety so that we can hold up until we can figure some things out, Mr. Nate. What are we figuring out, Gino? Whether or not I should be throwing you overboard for asking questions. Now shut up and get moving. A thought struck Nate, which he figured at the very least he should ask about. After all, as a prisoner, it was important to know these types of things. Am I going to have a room of my own? Get aboard. No one cares about what you want. 2 guards marched him through the innards of the ship on this level. Apparently at a 5 or 6, they'd quickly moved past an elevator that had a sign for all the floors, and this was the second one? Maybe? Eventually they arrived at a storage closet space, which had been emptied out, and which he could see as the door was opened. In you go, one of the guards ordered. I'm just to stay here? Do I get food or water? Probably. I don't know. Not my job to care. Get in. These are basic things for me to have, and you'd think that Mr. Gino would want me safe and sound to do whatever it is he's doing. Nate replied to stop having to go in there for the moment. You'd think, yes, but no one tells me nothing. Nate was roughly pushed fully into this storage space, having just been in the doorway. Once he was fully in, the door slammed shut, and there was a click as a lock sounded. The speedboat, with Humbert and Charles aboard, had departed the docks quietly. Right in the middle of the afternoon, and no one had even blinked at them, taking a boat and simply sailing away. Not even the soldiers and police guarding the area. Humbert waved a badge-like thing, and everyone went on, ignoring them. Now, though, halfway across the bay, and not close to the yacht, Charles turned from his seated position near the back of the boat, where Humbert was steering. "What exactly do you think I'm capable of doing?" Charles asked, needing to know the answer. "In regards to what, Charles?" "Getting on this ship." "What am I going to accomplish?" "Find your friend, your leader, and get the ship to shore." In his imagination, Charles stood up and then just dove off the side of the boat instead of dealing with this. He didn't actually wind up doing any of that, and it wasn't obvious to him why he wasn't doing it, but he wasn't. He should be doing it, his mind had told him to do it, yet he was sitting. With a grunt, he shook his head as the boat continued its bumpy journey across the bay. "I'm surprised you think I will even manage to get close to that yacht," Charles said. No, you'll be fine. The guards are expecting us." "So they will kill us right away, then?" "That's great. Just once I step aboard, everything is off the table." "So to speak, you won't be on this boat while I approach the yacht," Humbert said. "You want me to swim to the yacht, through the ocean, and hope that the currents don't take me further away from your objective?" "The currents around here are pretty calm from what I've read. You'll be fine. You can swim, right?" "I am not, in fact, a great swimmer." "But you can do it, can't you, Charles?" Humbert asked. "I can try, Secret Agent Humbert." "Well, good enough for my purposes. Our purposes, actually." The engine revved up, cutting off further conversation as they exited the bay and turned. The yacht was still several nautical miles away, but it didn't look like it would take all that long to get there. Humbert slowed the speedboat down a bit and pointed for Charles to get off here. He took a moment to look at the yacht, which was probably watching them, and shook his head. There would be no good to come from any of this, and a spy should really know better. If this Humbert really was a spy in the first place. Wearing only swim trunks, Charles looked at the choppy water and sighed. "I'm on record saying that this is stupid." "There is no official record, but noted." "There really should be one." "No, there shouldn't. It tends to end badly when there's official records. Goodbye, Mr. Charles." "I resent all of this." Before Humbert could respond, Charles dove into the cold, frigid water that was quite a shock to his system. The current almost instantly tried to further drag him under. Charles had to swim as hard as he could out of that current, though it did take him on a little journey. He'd managed to get to the surface and basically tread water until he managed to get somewhat close to this yacht. It was a hulking thing that was pitch black all around. On the sides, everything was painted black, which he thought was an odd choice, since that would attract heat in the middle of an ocean where the sun beats hardest. But what did he know? His mind was wandering when it should be concentrating on how to get aboard the boat without getting noticed, which clearly wasn't going to happen unless he knew shit about sneaking. Still, he wondered if it was possible as he approached the chain for the boat's anchor. It disappeared into the boat just before reaching the deck, but it might give him hope of getting up to the top deck that had an open area. So he grasped at this anchor chain, the thought that he quickly discovered that it wasn't going to be easy with wet hands, and the fact that the chain already felt slick. Hand over hand, though, he clambered until he reached the top and found a railing to get to the deck was well within his reach. So he kept going. Huffing and puffing, he spilled onto the deck and lay there for a moment. Charles doing his best just to lie for the moment. "Mr. Charles, so nice of you to join us. What alerted you to my presence?" Charles asked without looking at who was talking. "We have sensors all over the ship for intruders. Sounds like something the rich would do, fearful of pirates and all that." "I do not fear pirates, Mr. Charles." "Good to know. Is this your boat, then?" "It is." Charles rolled over from his back and slowly got to his knees, looking about. There were several guards with guns pointed at him, which was par for the course when it came to situations lately. His gaze then fell on Juno. "Did you hear the rumors?" "What rumors, Mr. Charles?" "Our dearest leader is hidden aboard this ship." "That or someone who looks like him, I think." There was a lot of doubtful looks that passed between the guards and Gino, who merely shook his head. "You seem to be under the impression that I don't know what's going on with my own boat," Gino said. "Yeah, it's obvious, otherwise I wouldn't be here." "Did you even know this was my vessel?" Gino questioned. "Not for a while, but a good guess that it was, since who, aside from the leader of this country, would have something so ostentatious hanging around where they were?" Charles' comments drew further glares from Juno. Then, with a disgusted look, he signaled to his guards to go over and pick up the soaked, tired man. "Give me one good reason not to throw you over the side, Charles, and do make it a good reason, since I already have your friend and I don't really need you. Lover, what is Mr. Nate to you?" "I'd think it would look rather bad on you if you had one of the supposed killers on your hands and the other of them vanished. How does that look to you?" Charles said instead of answering the question. "You say that as if they will find out," Gino replied with a snarky-looking grin plastered over his face. Nodding sagely as he stood up to Gino's words, Charles offered a thoughtful expression to the man. It didn't earn him anything, nor was he expecting it to, but he figured in this moment looking and acting smart would be a good thing. "You see, I fear that the government, in all of its mighty and powerful ways, knows how to find out about things like this, and they don't take kindly to people doing things all on their own, not when they want in on the action." "So you're admitting you are part of a scheme to kill our dear leader?" "I didn't say that, Gino. No, I had nothing to do with whatever it is that's happening on this island, and have only been caught up in it because someone is trying to frame people to do this, whatever it is they're doing. I won't say who I think it is, because everyone is smart enough to figure it out all on their own." "Alright, I've had enough of this. Throw him over the side. Shoot him first or after, once he's in the water. Make a game of it for all I care." "Careful, you don't want to kill me too quickly. You want people to have fun, right?" It felt stupid to taunt the guards as Gino turned to walk away, but Charles's mouth had already run away. So here he was, looking at the guards, who were looking at him rather puzzled. "Don't listen to him, just do as you're told," Gino ordered. "Shooting first is always a bad idea, especially at close range. What if you miss? That's gonna make you look bad. Plus you might hit one of your fellow workers." As he was saying this, the two guards beside him suddenly both grabbed for their pistols, tucked in their holsters at their sides. The guns were soon pointed directly at the side of his head. Now his mouth decided to stop talking, well after getting him into a shitload of trouble. The click that followed from both guns was rather surprising, as he'd hurriedly closed his eyes, but now they opened again. His mind having already decided what to do, as he yanked himself from the weakened grasp of these two guards, who were now concentrating on switching their guns from the safe to fire. Charles was not about to wait for them to do all of that, and had a brilliant plan in his mind of throwing himself backwards and into the water below. He jumped to try and make this happen, only to hit the railing right in the small of his back. He sort of succeeded in what he'd wanted to do, going end over the railing and splashing down into the water. The storage room where Nate had been placed was a hot box of a space. There was warmth all around him and no way to escape it despite wanting to. He'd even knocked on the door a few times, but no one had ever responded to his knocks. There was sudden shouts, muffled a bit, but he could still hear them along with the splash of water coming from somewhere above, and this was also followed by several gunshots that sounded much louder than anything else. Not liking this one bit, Nate went back to the door and pounded on it, hoping to get somebody to respond. It took a minute, but eventually it opened with a weird-looking man on the other side. "What's going on out there? I heard what sounds like gunshots." Yes, they were exactly that." "Okay, aren't you going to do something or anything about that?" "Me personally? No, not my job, but you can get out and explore if you wish." For a second, Nate wondered if he'd heard this man correctly. He looked at this man with a smile on his face as he stood to the side, sweeping out an arm to let him past. There was nothing on his expression that said he was lying, nor telling the truth, but none of it was trustworthy. "Why?" "Well, this gets me what I want, and if I'm not mistaken, that splashing sound is likely your friend, Mr. Charles, falling into the water. We can go save him, or you can follow me and find our dear leader if you so wish." Oh, Charles also pointed out that it might be a body double or just somebody else. "Charles is here?" "He is, or was. He probably just went overboard." Nate took all of this in, but was rather dubious of it. How could any of this possibly be true? Sadly, it felt like there was only one way to find out, and he wasn't sure he was ready to go along with this person. "And you're just gonna go save whoever this person is that's apparently on this boat?" "Not really sure about the saving part. Depends on what he does and how he winds up acting when we find him. And you're welcome to come along to see how that chaos unfolds if you wish." "Where is he?" "Somewhere in one of these rooms, or so I've been told." "Seriously?" "Yes, come on." Stepping out into the hallway, Nate looked about. It was clean, Spartan as he remembered it from being dragged here, but there were no guards down here. That was weird. "Where are the guards?" "Currently busy elsewhere. Are you coming or not? I think your friend distracted them. The next door I'm checking is right next to yours." He fully stepped out and found himself wandering the few steps over to that next door. This man who'd opened his door tried the handle, which went down easily enough, but did not open when he pushed it then pulled on it. "Can you even get in there?" Yes, with ease. Stand aside and watch me do my work." "There isn't a lock on that door that I can see." This man turned and scowled at him, but still went to work, probing the wall next to the door itself with his fingers. After a minute of doing this, he pulled out a key card from his pocket and waved it near the spot where he'd stopped searching. The door beeped and the lock clicked. With this, the man swung the door open. "Oh, Mr. Leader of your country, are you in here?" This man who'd gotten Nate out of his prison reached into the room looking for a light switch, flickering it on and causing both of them to blanch and look away. End of part 8 of One Dead Man. Thank you for listening.